Sunshine's Corner, brought to you by Pensacola Parks and Recreation.
And a beautiful Monday morning, that's what it is. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know you've stepped into the right place now, right? It's Sunshine's Corner. And do we have a lot to share with you today, as always. Remember, this is your safe place that you can talk about anything. So I want you to get ready, sit back and relax. Tell somebody to tell somebody else. That show that you really love is on the air right now at Blab TV. And of course, as every day, I ask you to be a part of this show, because without you, I believe when we put our ideas together, we can make better change. Call us up at 850-432-7768. You can call or text and be a part of this show today. And we've got some fantastic guests in today, because we're going to talk about a topic that's not talked about too often, but yet is so prevalent. We've got my girl Sydney in with us today. Thank you, Sydney, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And of course, we've got my girl Hale,
Yeah, whichever one.
That's right, but that's my girl. These are young ladies that are doing some great things in the community. I just love the fact that you're young and you're taking on things that, everybody have to pass the torch at one time or another. And to see the young people taking over to make a difference in the community with change. Change does not feel good, however, it's necessary. Yeah. And I want to talk to you today about DEI and mental health, and being that advocate that you are in the community, a writer. She said, but can you believe she's shy now? But she wasn't shy a moment ago. She was really. But I'm going to start with you. We're going to go right here, Cindy. I want you to tell everybody about you so we can get that conversation started right here today on Sunshine's Corner.
Come on, Frank. So I kind of get my hands in all kinds of different things, but I'm from Milton originally, so I've been in the Pensacola community for a long time. And like you said, I'm a writer. I've been in Writer Within Weekly for a long time, on and off, for probably since at least 2019. But
really,
yeah. But also, I've been in the nonprofit space, done a lot of things like event planning and stuff like that, running gallery night for a few years, and was able to do some fun things with that platform. But in general, I just try to be active in the community and try to elevate marginalized populations and make sure that folks that may not have a voice get the opportunity to speak. And then I really like to advocate for my community, which is the LGBTQ community.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. Thank you for getting up early without your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
She said that earlier, that's why I know about it. And of course, my love, Haley, whom I've known all of her life. I mean, like, hey, I used to come to my house, she was a little kid. My kid, her mom used to pick up the both of them, take them to school, we vice versa, whatever. But thank you, and wow, I did not know, Haley, that you were even certified in mental health. That is absolutely amazing. With this being Mental Health Awareness Month and the things that are going on that we're going to talk about today, wow, she's able to touch about just about everything we said we were going to talk about today, Sydney, all this stuff I didn't know. Thank you for getting up as well.
Well, I was going to be up. I had those two kids at the
house.
You
got that right. No doubt about it. Well, ladies, first of all, let's kick it off like this. DEI. We know how that is. What are your thoughts with DEI today?
Today, well, I think there is actually an attack on what we tried to have put in place because of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Right.
People don't realize that it's not just a new buzzword.
Right.
They believe that it just popped up in the last 4 years, and all of a sudden everybody's up in arms about making sure that they are, not instigated against and things like that. I'm like, no, actually back in the 60s this work started.
Exactly.
And so now the words are really coming up, and that's why you keep hearing about it, because people put in the groundwork to really be recognized, and so that we could get all of that inequality out the way.
Exactly.
And as a social worker, it's part of my ethos, it's part of my values to really dive into what DEI work really is.
You said something that was powerful, because it's like it has gotten to the top here in the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years maybe, that it has just elevated to the top as if it just started. But this was back when my parents were out there. You know what I mean? And I'm saying, but I think what it is now, I think it's being focused on more because of some things that are happening in the world today. Not just in Pensacola, but things that are happening in the world today, and it's said in a way to try to make it feel that it's not being done when it is being done. I mean, and with you, Sydney, have you ever experienced anything like that? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, in general, I think like you're talking about, we've gotten a lot more attention on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion because you saw out of some of the movements in 2020, coming off of the murder of George Floyd and all of those things that we saw on a sort of corporate level that businesses, organizations, corporations were saying, hey, we actually want to bring in someone who specializes in diversity, equity, inclusion to make sure that our business practices are on some level of equity, which was great. It felt like progress, and we were seeing a lot of people who were, usually in minority populations get these sort of high level roles where they were hopefully doing great work. And then there was almost a backlash to it. Exactly. They were in for a couple of years doing, like I said, great work, but then the last year or so, there's been a lot of folks in those roles being eliminated again. I mean, it's like we've just gone back, and I don't know if it was some corporate feel-good trend for white people to get into that and throw $100,000 at a salary for a minute and then say, okay, well, we tried that, that's done, and
let's take it away.
Now that no one's paying attention, let's go back to what we were doing before. But I think that's sort of how I've been feeling about the movement. There's such great opportunity when you have someone dedicated to that role in businesses, and if we just go backwards, then we're just back where we started back in 2018.
Exactly. And it seems like that's where we're regressing every single day. And it's your face, you got to look there.
No, I'm just sitting here thinking about how, like, even at our universities, we're starting to see all of these programs that are specifically funded by DEI work, like their budgets are slashed, their programs are gone. And we watched it happen for like the last two to 3 years or so that's been happening, just legislatively wise, how that's happened on our universities. If our universities are the ones that are populating and getting our workforces together, what does that mean for us in the workforce already and where we're progressing to?
Exactly.
It's abysmal.
Well, think about this. If we're seeing now that we say that we've got to do this, then therefore, don't you think it was already being done, but they were just trying now that the light is being brought to it?
Definitely.
Wouldn't that be? If it's that way? You said something a moment ago that I thought was powerful, and I like the way you used that, just because you say if you're white then you get this, or if it's black that you don't get this, let me make this seem like you're going to get this, then you take it away. But how are we going to overcome that? Now, we think about, we don't have it like they did back in the 60s, how they were fighting. We don't have a whole lot of people doing that. You think about that. But now, like with you, the reason why I chose the younger generation to talk with me today to get that out, because if I, in my maturity would go and feel this way. What about you guys in the younger generation? How is that affecting you? And how are we going to eliminate that problem? I don't think it needs to be fixed. I think it needs to be eliminated. Because of the fact that is not fair, no way you look at it. Because when you look at it, if you've got the knowledge and the power, I don't care if you're red, yellow, black, white, or brown, you should be able to do it. So don't just hold that. How are we going to get over that, the fact that that kind of grudge is yet being held? What do you think?
It takes more than just throwing money at it.
Okay, good job.
That's the first thing. And I think that has been where our starting point has always been, which money good. Money good. Money makes moves. Money, right? Money makes it move. But at the end of the day, we have to really be able to see people take a really deep, intentional look for themselves and take accountability too. When we first when we have people who are DEI coordinators and they go into the field, a lot of times I was watching a TV show and this was happening.
She thought she had an epiphany.
I forgot what the show was, but there was a doctor and he kept wanting to fix all the problems in his hospital. And he had like a DEI coordinator and she was like, I just need you to meet with me.
Right.
Like, you have to take your own accountability and then be able to be the example.
Exactly.
And what we're seeing is those that should take accountability to be the example, they're like, I'm just gonna throw some money about it and go on business as usual for myself.
Oh, really?
And so that trickles down. Like, you don't see the actual values.
The movie was Amsterdam.
Yes! Yes! It was Amsterdam! he was such a great guy, but he still was like a white man who was like, I could just be the savior and fix this. And it's like, just go sit down with the woman to talk to.
Exactly.
That's it. It really just starts there, of like really internalizing where is it that me as the higher up is really providing and being a part of this hurt.
Exactly.
And how do I change the ways that I show up?
Exactly.
And we haven't had many people in corporations or in seats of power that have intentionally sat back and said, where's the accountability for me? How am I changing? How am I taking advantage of the services of somebody that I hired to
Exactly.
and coordinate this?
Have you experienced that yourself? I have. I've experienced that. I've gone through that. I mean, and it's not a good feeling. And when you're trying your best, and but what I have found now, especially in the corporate world, they'll create this to make it seem as if we've gone through this process, but there's another entity behind it that's going the wrong way. And some people, you have to look at their actions. Don't hear what they're saying. Watch their action, because they're actually going to speak exactly what's in the heart. Your heart is going to tell you. You're actually going to tell just where they are. I've been there, done that. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Because you said that even with the community, the LGBT community, I know a lot of people, good friends, right? And have you experienced anything in that level with that and with the things that we're talking about?
So, I mean, what's interesting is it's like what Hale was saying earlier about how on the legislative level, it's affecting the way that, our universities are able to operate and things like that, because the state level here in Florida is really having a chilling effect on any sort of inclusion practices. So there used to be, like at University of West Florida a year ago, there was a group that was specifically for inclusion for LGBTQ individuals, and they helped host a festival for National Coming Out Day and things like that. They were just a student resource group, and directly through legislative practices by the governor in Florida, they are now unable to operate there because they can't be funded by university funds, state funds. So now it just has to be a student-led group, which is just an independent little self-funded thing. So stuff like that happens, and the intended effect of that is to have a chilling effect on everybody. So even if you're someone who considers yourself an ally to the LGBTQ group, you are less likely to kind of stick your neck out and advocate for people, because you think, oh, well, all the way up to the governor, he's against this stuff, and I don't know, this might be, this might make me look bad at my job if I'm caught being, an advocate for this thing. And so I've personally experienced that with over the last couple of years, people who used to, it was easy to be an ally of gay and lesbian people. Now, they're shrinking away, they're disappearing, which I know is not a unique thing to LGBTQ people. That is obviously a thing in allies in any groups, especially, like we said, with 2020, everybody was trying to be an ally then and show up and have that energy. And then, when things got a little scary, or whenever you were worried that, one thing or another, people trickle away. And
Absolutely.
It's terrible.
Wow, what a powerful conversation we're having today. Like I tell you all the time, this is the safe place that you can talk about anything. And we're going to go away for break, but we're coming back. We're going to finish more about DEI, and we're going to talk with you about mental health, because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and there's some questions I have for you. So if you've got questions, or if you would like to ask one of our guest questions, 850-432-7768. You can call or text. Get involved. Get into the conversation right here on Sunshine's Corner.
Empire Truck Sales, located at 2255 West Detroit Boulevard in Pensacola, is your Freightliner, Western Star, Detroit Diesel, and Cummins dealer for Northwest Florida. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing sales, service, and parts. Empire Truck Sales is also your Oasis dealer for Freightliner custom chassis RV and motorhome repairs. Running I-10 will get you in.
Many who consider facial plastic surgery are concerned their results will look unnatural. But with over 20 years of serving the Pensacola community, his thousands of satisfied patients have made Dr. Derek Jones a trusted reconstructive and facial plastic surgeon known for industry-leading results that look natural. Call 850-484-FACE to schedule a consultation at one of our locations in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze.
I'm Dr. Derek Jones. Trust your face to a facial plastic surgeon.
Lloyd's Glass and Correct Calibration Services is a one-stop shop because you can come get your windshield replaced, and right behind that replacement at the same appointment, we will calibrate the cameras, and when you leave, everything's ready to go. There's no need to go to the dealership, or there's no need to come back for another appointment. We just take care of it at one time. We put the customer first, and we strive to do everything right the first time.
Lloyd's Glass and Correct Calibration Services, your one-stop shop with same-day service.
There are many reasons someone may need in-home care, whether it may be respite care, them recovering from surgery, or having a chronic condition. Having someone dedicated and reliable is imperative. Supplemental Support Care Services was created to provide to those who are in need with quality care that they deserve in the home. Taking it a step further, our main goal is to ensure that Supplemental Support Care Services is where the love and care is top priority.
And welcome back to the hottest spot there is in Pensacola. This is your safe place where you can talk about any and everything, okay? Even those hard conversations. And we're having one today because when we were offset, we were talking about other things that are going on. But these young ladies right here are filled with so much knowledge. And I think that's why they are such advocates in the community today, doing what you're doing. I just want to encourage you, keep on doing it. You know, change is necessary. It may not feel good, but it's necessary. We got to do what we got to do. And I was talking, as long as I've known this young lady here, I did not know she was in mental health. Mental health. Now, this is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mental Health Awareness Month.
I mean, like, and we were talking even earlier how mental health, some things are triggers to get other things started, even with drugs. With any addiction.
Yeah.
Okay? Tell us more about that, because you know how to talk about it better than me.
Yeah. No, so my background, my master's in social work.
Right.
And so I started
Did you hear that? Her master's. Okay.
My master's in social work. I actually was social worker of the year for Northwest Florida.
Yay!
Very proud of that. But more so because, yes, I've been able to see the effects of like mental health and what has done in our community.
Of course.
And working with people one-on-one, individually and in groups. But yes, so one of the things, especially related to diversity and equity and inclusion, is that we will be gaslit into believing that like our current circumstances are only by our own shaping of our world, right? Or to believe that no, there aren't really any issues, especially if you're from a different background,
right?
Marginalized people, and so that does push on to triggering depression, anxiety symptoms, and then it does the symptom of that deep-rooted issue, which is actually trauma, right, is things like substance abuse that we talked about.
Wow.
All the time. I know you had Jermaine, one of my really good friends.
Jermaine is so filled with
He
knowledge.
is so amazing.
Yes, he's amazing.
And just talking about how it is the symptom, it is not the actual problem, and we have to work towards ousting that symptom, but then you have to really get into the deep-rooted things, which is what I specialize in, which is trauma.
Wow.
And really getting people to be able to be grounded and work through a lot of those things. And sometimes it feels worse before it gets better, but
you got to get better to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, it's worth it once you start working through it.
Absolutely. Now, you were talking about something with the human relations, you said?
Oh yeah, just so, you know, when we're talking about having advocacy or making sure that we're keeping equity and diversity and inclusion all in mind, that I think one of the lesser known organizations in the community is our Human Relations Commission, which is a joint commission between the county and the city, and there's people appointed on both sides. So the county gets to appoint a handful of folks, and the city does as well. And it's also represented. There's a councilwoman on it, or Councilwoman Tanayata Broughton, and then Commissioner Lumen May is also on it. So it's a group that's doing really great work. The executive director, Al Henderson, he and his team are primarily focusing on housing discrimination complaints and employment discrimination complaints. So they are working to build the reputation and knowledge in the community so that people know to go to them when they have those concerns. But just so that if you feel like you're being mistreated, that you have someone to turn to, even if it's just to say, I don't know if I've been mistreated.
Right.
I don't know if this is discrimination.
Right.
You can call them up or contact them, and they'll walk you through it. You know, if you have lice in your house, or bed bugs or rodents, those sorts of things can also fall under the protections that they go and check out. They make sure that landlords are not taking advantage of people, and so it's just a great resource that we have that I think not enough people know about here.
Absolutely. What would your advice be to a person who says, okay, I have this job, I know this is going on, but I'm afraid to say something. I know that I'm not being treated equally. I know that this is going on, but I'm afraid that if I go to the higher power, that then I may have a chance of you losing my lifeline, which is your money, your check to get paid. And what would you tell a person that's being treated that way, but they're afraid because of that they're going to lose the job?
I think that's a really complicated situation, and really it would be highly dependent on so many factors, because what we want to be the case, which is that, if you are being discriminated against, especially based on a protected class, that it would be taken seriously and that you would be given resources to navigate that and that your employer would handle it. But the reality is sometimes different, and it just depends on how provable your claim is. If you feel that you are being discriminated against based on a protected class, if you're not able to maybe provide that content, that proof, you might end up being a victim of retaliation or discrimination.
Right, because what I'm saying is that could happen, right? So therefore, what am I asking you guys? Because you are tomorrow. How are we going to get beyond that? Because let's say, hypothetically, that you've got somebody that's on your job that's lying, and then they're lying, but they're painting this picture that causes their supervisor or the upper person to think that they're telling the truth. They're such a good liar, but you're the victim. How are you going to prove something like that when you've got several heads in there? And I found out with this that they could be envious of your productivity, envious of the way of your growth, the part that you've built for yourself. So therefore, they want to eliminate you, but they're going to go about it in a way collectively to build this case. How can you fight that when you don't have anybody to fight it with you, but you are the victim? Think about that.
Yeah, it puts you in a very
a difficult situation.
Very difficult. But the one thing that I tell people all the time, and what shows up, is document everything.
Exactly.
Document everything by any means necessary.
Yes.
And then, as someone who has faced different areas of pressures like this, right? I won't lie. I will lobby for myself. I advocate for myself. There's someone else who has experienced the same thing as
Exactly.
me.
Let's say it like this. Let's say that you may be the only person in that building. Or the only person. I'm going because we had a conversation about this a while back, because I know Hale. Okay, and that's when I found out that you can, even if you're having a problem on the job, being discriminated against, I didn't know that was his position, that you could go to Hale. Long as I've been knowing it, I didn't know that. So, but what I'm saying, those are difficult situations, especially when people are trying to do the best thing, and some people are good liars. Some people are very good liars.
And to a certain extent, if you're in a toxic workplace, and the toxic workplace supports a communication style or a behavior or personality that is not your personality, sometimes it's going to be hard to win. But like Hale said, documenting things is really important. Even if it is a conversation, you can go and take notes yourself, and as long as you note the date that this thing happened and the time, if you're building a case and you're able to provide that evidence over a long period of time, it's going to make your ability to prove what you're experiencing stronger. But it really can be a complicated situation.
Absolutely. Why do you think in this day and time, in 2024, we're still dealing with crap like this? Why do you think, you laughed, why do you think at this day and age that we're still dealing with things like this? You laugh. I want to hear what you got to say.
My controversial answer is we never actually dealt with it before.
Absolutely. It's just been covered up.
It's just been covered up. They throw money at it. We were given crumbs off of a table instead
trying to
of
give the crumbs.
actually given a seat to really make like a really deep, impactful change. And there was a plan put into place to oust it, but there wasn't a long-term sustained like direction to hold on to that. And you know, people fall off. Like if it's movement space, right, around this specifically, people get tired out. And that is the thing that those who work against us, right, and in these spaces, they want to tire us out. And there's only so many of us.
Exactly.
And so that's why we're
yes.
also thrown so many curveballs at the same time, rather it just being, we need to deal with the fact that you're being discriminated against. We need to deal with discrimination by itself, because discrimination does not just cover your jobs, it covers your housing, it covers when you go outside every single day, pump your gas. You can be discriminated against in so many different ways. And we never actually dealt with that. We never made an intentional move to really oust that for a long period of time. It's only been short spurts, right? You know, MTV, when they had documentaries that were going on, and then all of a sudden, that's gone.
Stop. No, not there anymore.
MTV told all of us that there are white people that don't know black people at all. A good majority of them, right?
Right.
Who's doing the work about that? Who's getting us into neighborhoods and coalitions to actually build? We see spurts of it in places, but what's the long-term sustainable work that's happening? I know social workers are trying, but it has to be a bigger picture.
Absolutely.
It has to be a bigger picture work.
Yeah, and sort of building on to that, I think one thing when we were talking about sort of the millennial generation really is that what we learned is that progress is not linear. In that, you know, I think those of us who were younger people when Obama was in office, that obviously that was a major milestone in having an African American man to be president. And then to see things sort of roll backwards in a lot of ways, that was, for me, I remember it was such a wake-up call. I was shocked that I felt that we could roll backwards in such a dramatic way, and that was a hard lesson, is that it's, you know, it feels like you're just going up and things are getting better and stronger and we're all doing greater, and then it goes down again. And that you either at that point say, oh my God, well the system is broken and there's nothing we can do, and you give up and you go build your commune, and or you know, dust yourself off, find community, and start working again.
Wow.
And another point on that is just that I think one thing that happens is people don't quite understand the difference between not being, you know, if we're talking about discrimination and things like that, and if we're talking about white people especially, the difference between not being racist and then being anti-racist, which is sort of doing the work, making sure that wherever you are in your community or society or your job role, that you are looking around and you're saying, is there something happening here that I can do to help, you know, focus on equity and help reduce discrimination? And really, there's been so many. You know, I've not worked directly in roles where I'm, you know, focusing on these things, but everything I do in my professional and sort of public life is trying to elevate people. Absolutely. And if you're not able to do that, it doesn't matter if you're a school teacher or, you know, you make food, you're a food service worker, or you're a surgeon, or any level of where you are in society, you have the ability to look around and make sure that the people around you have better opportunities and are, you know, served just as well. It doesn't matter what their race is or their sexuality or anything like that. So
absolutely. Powerful information. Wow. Oh, I got some. She was making some points. I got some questions. We got to go to break, but some questions there because you're hitting some great points that we need to be to adhere to. Listen, everybody, don't forget now. This Sunshine's Corner is being brought to you by the Pensacola Park and Recreation. Listen, every week I'm going to be telling you about the bands, the Blues on the Bay right down. They had one yesterday, and listen, we're going to have a guest in the studio as well. Daisy's going to come back and tell you about some things that you will need to do with your family, all with Pensacola Park and Recreation is right here on Sunshine's Corner. Need a new outfit for a special occasion? Look no further than Viola's Men's Apparel. Viola's has been providing the latest styles and accessories in Pensacola for over 20 years now. We have clothes for every occasion, and we offer consultations and group discounts. You can trust that our care, quality, and class will be unmatched. Viola's Men's Apparel, for all of your menwear needs.
This is Wayne at Icon Automotive in Robertsdale, Alabama, and I want to tell you more about our powertrain warranty forever. It comes with any vehicle we sell that has 80,000 miles or less at no additional cost to you. We put our vehicles through a tough safety and mechanical inspection before it can have the powertrain warranty forever, giving you a peace of mind with your purchase. This warranty is good anywhere in the country, and it covers 100% of parts and labor with no mileage limit, and is covered as long as you own the vehicle. Come pick out your dealership car at non-dealership pricing with the powertrain warranty forever at Icon Automotive.
Watch a new episode of Crime Stoppers Wanted Fugitives every Friday at 6 p.m., hosted by Sergeant Melanie Peterson and David Craig. Your tips may be eligible for a cash reward, featuring items about officer training, various aspects of police work, and crime prevention information. You'll hear about upcoming family-friendly engagement events as well. Don't miss Crime Stoppers Wanted Fugitives every Friday at 6 p.m.
Hi, my name is Brett McCabe. This is my wife Tanya, and we're the owners of Pensacola AC and Auto Service Center.
From the moment you walk in the door, we are here to take care of you. Honesty and excellence are the standard of our team. Our goal is to give you peace of mind from oil changes to AC repair. All of our repairs come with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. We have a clean, welcoming waiting room with free Wi-Fi. When you leave here, you will have peace of mind. Come visit us and experience auto repair from people who care.
Well, a great big smile on my face. I tell you, each time we break away, I get so much more information. I wish we could just talk straight through. But we were talking about what?
Microaggression.
Microaggression. And your eyes went. And she looked and said, okay, microaggression.
Microaggressions are those little backhanded compliments almost for people in marginalized communities. One thing that I actually had a shirt that said it. It said, don't call me pretty for a black girl.
For a black girl.
Yes.
I got you.
You're pretty for a black girl.
I hate that.
Because, what does that even mean?
Right.
But then it'll be, you're not like those other black people. Other microaggressions are just like in the way that people may regard you when you enter a room. It's kind of like, what are they doing here? Or you're so eloquent when you speak.
Exactly. Like there should be something else that we're gonna say.
And if we get onto the side of like being a queer person, it's like, you don't act like other a gay man who's not effeminate, right? You don't act like those other gays. Yeah. Are you sure that you're? But it is those little things. But it's behaviors that those are small backhanded things that people don't think chips away at us, but it does.
Of course.
It builds up and it chips away at us. I did a study.
But isn't that a way of saying what you really feel?
That is what they really feel.
They're really saying what you really feel.
It is.
But it chips away at you. It's not in a, even though it's in small amounts, it continuously builds up, and it can bring you down in ways, especially internally. It's those little T traumas that we talk about and how it really can affect your mental health. As a black person, as a queer person, as someone from any other different background, being surrounded by people that just continuously bombard you with these small little microaggressions. Who are the people that do the most of that?
Oh, no, I haven't done a study.
I don't know the statistics on that, but I think it can be the most destabilizing when it happens with someone that you thought you were in community with or that was an ally to you. Yeah, I've had someone who's I consider a friend, but who said, every time I see you, you look more and more like a boy. And I was like, really? I don't know quite what that's supposed to mean. So yeah, there's things like that, and that was, I don't know exactly who does it, but I think what happens is we're talking about getting away from or overt racism, you know, the stuff that you could go to jail for, or the stuff that you could lose your job for. We're talking about microaggressions. It's the death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing,
that.
where and you can't necessarily point to it and say it was this and this, because if you're telling them all to someone might say, oh, those aren't a big deal, but it's the repetition of it, it's the pattern of it that you feel over your life, and you think, no, it's more than just these offhand comments. It means something, and as you said, it kind of gives insight into how someone really does feel about you at the end of the day, so it can be really upsetting.
Absolutely. Do you think that, I've heard people say, no, oh, I'm not, but you're taught that. Is racism something that's taught? Because I don't think you're born that way.
I mean,
it's a learned situation.
Yeah, it's not inherent. I think evolutionarily we are taught to find community among like people, but I think culturally that's where the difference comes in, because from the moment, you know, we're born and the way we're socialized, we're raised to feel either one way or another about a group of people. If you are isolated and you're never around people that are different than you, you know, that can cause a background that can result in racism and discrimination. Or what's, you know, definitely not uncommon is you're raised in a racist background and you're taught, you know, never, you know, don't bring home a black boy, or don't bring home a white boy. Yeah, don't bring home a white boy. We don't hang around those people because they're this or that, you know, or don't hang around gay people, or your kid might turn out gay. You know, there's all kinds of things like that. So yeah, I think that I like to believe that humanity and people have an inherent power in being accepting and loving of people, and that there's not something in all of us that makes us that way, because that's the more hopeful view of it. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, with DEI today, I mean, like, and you hear, wow, Al, I keep calling your name. I did not know that's what you do, bro.
Shout out to Al.
I mean, shout out to Al. But what I'm saying is that it is so, and I don't want to harp on this, but I've seen it, and it's so strong. I mean, even up higher. I mean, it's so strong and it's so put out there that it's okay. And I mean, those kind of things that the millennials that you guys are going to be dealing with, because we're passing the torch, we fight it. We never stop fighting.
Right.
Never stop fighting. But we have to have somebody that has that sense of urgency to take it on, to really put that fight up. And I like to bring this up because I look at our forefathers who died for this, and look at us now, we're going right back. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to have strong people such as you to continue to fight that battle, so that we won't regress anymore, and yet be told that we're not regressing. But you can see it every day. You know, and I want to commend you for the work you're doing, for the mental health that you know what it kicks with, for the advocacy work that you're doing in the community to make a difference. And I see what I want people to see. Look at the two of you, beautiful color here, and you're working together for the same cause. How easy that can be. So how would you tell people that are thinking that separation way, and they will tell you, oh, I'm not that way, but you know that they are? How are you going to get across that? Deal that mentally?
So
I love what she does. I don't want to say this, but I got to say this.
And in my opinion, my work, just being in the field, especially doing anti-racism work,
right?
Like the last 10 years of my life, right? What I find is that it is hard work. And it is remapping the brain and thinking about the ways that we have to intentionally be anti-racist, right? Or, you know, anti-discriminatory. But also there is a change of heart that needs to happen in a lot of ways for people personally. Like, there's levels to this,
of course,
right? Personally on the ground, like, you have to have the fortitude to really work with someone and be forgiven and just redirect them consistently. And they have to be prepared to be intentional in changing the ways that they see and work out things. Now,
I'm not cutting across you, but I love the fact that you keep saying intentional. It has to be intentional in order to do this. You said something earlier, I can't remember who said it, but get your seat at the table.
Oh, yes.
And when you get your seat at the table, don't just sit there and I got my seat at the table now. Okay, I'm going to take care of me now. I'm sitting at the table now, so okay, you got to try to get yours. You understand what I'm saying? Be intentional about making a difference for the whole.
Right.
To make a difference. Now, I won't cut across you anymore.
No, it's fine. That's fine. That makes perfect sense to me. Like, yes, it is reaching back, which leads me actually to my next point of, like, there's levels to this. This is where once we get upper level, like, hearts might not change. Money does make things change. This is why we saw things like bus boycotts, lunch table sit-ins, like people that are boycotting certain things. Like, it is happening for reasons, because as you get to a higher level, I can't go to certain CEOs and say, okay, you're gonna sit down with me every single day.
That's right.
And we're gonna work on this. And when you look at me, what do you see? Like that, It may not be like that, but the work that we can do is, I might have to hit your pockets first in order to get a change in things.
That's
or
right.
I have to advocate for some policy changes that are going to put you into a practice that is better for the people that are beneath, not necessarily beneath you, but, you know, as far as like tiers beneath you.
I got you.
And the people that you work for, the people that have to support the work that you're doing.
And they gotta want to be the change intentionally.
Intentionally.
They gotta want
Always
that.
intentionally.
Don't just look at me with lip service. You want to be that intentional change. You say one thing, but while you're saying it, your hand is doing another. That what's it? You know, how's that gonna make a difference? When you see things like even today, how can you? What are your plans with you guys? I know that you're in the future doing a lot of stuff. Working with the fact that, because I think this all boils around DEI. Even taking Black history, want to take that out of schools, want to teach our history. Why is that a problem today? What do you think about that? Both of you, I want to hear.
I mean, knowledge is power, right?
Oh, come on, you better use my words.
You know, and by reducing knowledge across the board, which is really a thing in all subjects, the kids in schools today are far less literate than you know, the previous generation. There's so many things going against children in schools today, which is just heartbreaking, and we need to find a solution. But yeah, reducing the information and the education they have on really basic things. You know, when I was in school, I didn't learn any especially interesting historical facts or things. We learned the really basic things. You know, if we're talking about, you know, Black history, I knew about MLK and Rosa Parks, and that was about it. You know, so the fact that even today's children might not be learning those basic things, it's concerning. But yeah, it's just like I said before, a death by 1,000 cuts, and you know, we just have to make sure that we're advocating. It's the same thing as the book bans that keep happening in schools.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
It feels sort of like anything that might be even somewhat LGBTQ, whether it's a character that might have it, or a dictionary that has the definition of something, is being stricken from the schools, and that's something that, you know, is happening right here in our community.
Absolutely.
That's worse than it's happening anywhere in the entire country. So it's terrible.
It's a lot. As you can see, we are having a great conversation today. And when you're having fun, man, the clock just ticks so fast. Look, I just keep it. Got to take another break. But listen, let me say thanks again to Pensacola Parks and Recreation for being a sponsor of this show right here on Sunshine's Corner. And look, stay close, because again, I want you to keep this name in mind, top of mind. Deja, she's going to be in with me on this weekend, so we can talk about all the stuff that's happening with Pensacola Parks and Recreation. Where can you hear it? Right here at Sunshine's Corner on Glad TV.
I just remembered it's election day. Are you going to vote?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have time today.
Millions of eligible voters in America never make it to the polls or even register to vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people make decisions for you and pick the things your taxes will pay for. Voting is more than a civic duty. It gives you a voice about the priorities and the future of your community and our nation. Voting gives you a seat at the table.
Do you want to create but don't know where to start? Our new fabric line will inspire you. If you can dream it, we can help you make it. From using kits that include everything you would need, to taking classes to create something more personalized, Daryl's is the place for you. No matter if you're just beginning or experienced, Daryl's has you covered. Find us at 6705 North Davis Highway, open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays.
The Reesburg Institute, Pensacola's Ear, Nose, Throat, and Voice Center. We welcome you to visit us at our convenient Davis Highway location in Pensacola. At the Reesburg Institute, we offer the most advanced treatment available in a calm, stress-free environment. Since 2014, we've performed over 1,000 cases in office of balloon sinus surgery, as well as septoplasty and nasal procedures using oral sedation. The in-office procedures result in a faster healing time. Visit us and feel the difference.
Hello, my name is Eric, and this was my first visit to Little John's. The selection, the pricing here, and the customer service were outstanding. I would definitely recommend. The staff was very friendly, and they'll get you what you need.
Hi, this is John with Little John's Big and Tall here in Pensacola, Florida at 5700 North Davis Highway. Check us out at littlejohnsbigandtall.com, where we can take care of you with extra large up to 14X and large tall to 6X tall.
And welcome back to the hottest spot there is in Pensacola, and the heat is on, and it's going up today because we'll get the information. But you know, you took my, when I said, come on, use my word, I believe in every day you're going to hear me say knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Once you get that knowledge, use it. You know what I'm saying? Use it to make a difference. And I tell you what, when we're off of those 2-3 minutes, I'm getting so much information, it just bottles up on the inside because of the work that you're doing for the community, standing out, and that's a great thing. And I do want to continue to say this, continue to do that because it's so needed. It is so needed. And I know that the role may not be easy, but keep doing it because that's how you're going to get the difference right there. You know, we don't want to regress. We want to progress. And at this point right now, where I see we're at a standstill, and they're trying to regress,
right,
more so than to progress. And what I want you to tell me, how do you feel about this? That why is it? I know that we never dealt with the issue from way back then. There was a bandage put on it for a while. There was a lot being done, and it got to a standstill. But then all of a sudden, and it happened after Obama was elected. After that, it went crazy. Why do you think that happened?
So
this is just a question from you. I don't say you've done any research. This is just how you're feeling here.
Yeah.
I want the audience to understand that. We're talking now. We're having a conversation.
Sure. So there's an interesting thing that seems to happen is when people who are, you know, if we're talking about things like racism, people who are invested in white supremacy, when those people see their power begin to fade in any level, you know, if they see that, oh, society is progressing towards a more equitable, accepting society, that works against their goals. If they feel they're losing ground, they have to respond harder and more intensely to take back the culture, and make it so that, you know, that general people who aren't particularly prejudiced but are also generally risk averse, say, okay, it is not the time for me to, you know, be extra supportive and vocal for Black people, for example. It's just a culture war at the end of the day, and that there are people who genuinely are white supremacists, who genuinely are working towards having a society that is segregated, and those folks are the culture makers sometimes.
You said segregation. I mean, that which is true. And I mean, but does that feel like because another person is growing and progressing and coming up to the level here, so does that have to make that person feel that you're going to degress because that person is? Is it that they're so insecure within themselves because of how it was and never was that you were really here, but you just did that because of that?
Yeah, I've watched and seen where people that are privileged, I will give a perfect example of this, and I expect for people to ring my phone and disagree with me, but straight marriages, heterosexual marriages are not under attack just because people who are not heterosexual are getting married. Like, it doesn't, there's a sanctity about it, it's destroying the sanctity. No, that's your family, your marriage, your village. It does not take away anything from you all. So that means that you do not have to attack people, who are homosexual having marriages, who Yes, that's exactly that. So same thing when we talk about just being able, people don't realize things like, oh my goodness, affirmative action. People automatically believe if black people are put in a position that it was affirmative action.
Now I get that. That makes my hair stand up.
Statistically, white women have benefited from affirmative action more than
More so
anybody
than
else.
any black person.
And have kind of been like the ones on the precipice of pushing the issue too. Like, no, this person is like, but you don't know that because people don't know how many nights I stayed up in order to be able to be at the top of my class or anything like that, right?
Exactly, I agree.
So how can you automatically take that in? But it is because of deep-seated beliefs, right? That no, black people or people of other backgrounds or ethnicities or anything like this, they can just not possibly be as smart as anyone else, and they don't realize that that's what they're saying.
Exactly.
They don't realize that that's what they're saying. They they just pick them over me because of this policy.
I agree, and I love your eyes. When she hits something that she goes, oh, she says yes. And
Well, it's like you said before when we were off camera that, you know, your face shows how you feel before anything. That's I am bad about that. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about how you know, what you were talking about, even if someone doesn't believe that they're racist or believe that they have a prejudice, that being able to look in yourself and see those imperfect beliefs takes vulnerability, and it's complicated. It's hard, you know. You have to have hard conversations with yourself if you are striving to be, you know, an ideal, like, you know, your ideal version of yourself in society. Exactly. You have to be able to say, oh, you know, I've got these soft prejudices that my parents gave me, or that I, you know, felt by being, you know, where I was or anything, and say, you know, I'm going to work hard to tear that stuff down in myself, and I'm going to, like, if we're talking about being in advocacy spaces and helping advocate for equity, it's about making sure that you're not there to get praise or to get a reward. That especially, you know, if you're the ally in the area that you're saying, I'm going to put in work because I believe it's the right thing to do, and if I never get, you know, an invite to the cookout or whatever, you know, that's the joke people make, you know, that's fine because I believe what I'm doing is the right thing, and even if no one ever says good job, I still am proud of myself at the end of the day.
Exactly. Go ahead, Haley.
Yes, and I do also want to point out, in studying trauma and racial trauma and things like that, right? That if you are somebody who does need to say, what's in it for me, white supremacy, discrimination, all those things, they don't only hurt the people who are not privileged.
That's right.
They also hurt those who are in privileged positions. Look at the opioid pandemic.
Oh my God.
Look at the ways. So there's a book called My Grandma's Hands that absolutely like lays this out in the ways that like that racial trauma sits within all of our bodies, regardless. What's the name of the book? It's called My Grandma's Hands.
Gotta get that and read it.
My grandma. It's really good. Audiobook or the book, Dr. Renez, I can't say his whole name right now, but it is a great book. I have a copy at the house too. I can also bring to you.
Thank you very much, but I want to read this book, Grandma's Hand, okay?
It's really good, but it discusses particularly that. But like, yeah, I mean, as deeply as I want to say, everybody's going to go in it and they're going to say, this is something that I don't need praise for. But there are people who are going to say, what's in it for me? Well, baby, you got an issue on your hands if you think that this doesn't affect you in some sort of way also.
And you know what? I believe in love.
Yes.
Love is such a powerful thing. Why is it so hard? We only got a couple of minutes left. That love will overtake this. Because I believe I can love you just like I love you. You understand what I'm saying? Because your skin, your pigmentation is different from mine. So what? But what's the point that I like to point to people? Stop looking at my pigmentation. Look at me. Get to know my heart. Get to know me. Just because my tan is there all the time, that's okay. You understand what I'm saying? That is okay. Just because your tan is not there all the time, that's okay too. But why can't we allow love in these situations? People don't understand what I'm talking about when I say love, that you don't look at me because of this brown skin. Look at me because of what my heart is all about, how I can help and love you the way I love her. Why can't we get to there? We got to get to there somehow or another. And I think that what we've covered today we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. See, that covers a wide array of things. People just think, oh, she's talking about the job. Not just about the job.
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper than that. And I just want to really, 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 and I mean this, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Don't let the things that's going to try to stop you, because you're going to run into some things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as Dr. King would say, don't judge me by the color of my skin, by the content of my character. You understand what I'm saying? Because that is something that we all have to just try to get this out to everybody, red, yellow, black, white, or brown, whomever they are, because of the fact, and I'll say this because of my beliefs, we all going to be judged by the same God. So please, love on each other. And that's the thought that I want to leave with you guys, to continue to do. Fight a good fight, because you got some days ahead. Are going to be some difficult days ahead.
For sure.
But I just want you to continue to do what you're doing, because you're doing such great work, the both of you. And as I listen to you today, and I'm sure that everybody that was watching with me as well, as you listen, you see that your fight is for the same thing. You're fighting for the same thing. But because your pigmentation is different from hers, but your goal, what you're looking for, is the same. Continue to do the work that you're doing. And my dear friends, I want to say to you, this conversation, wow, we only had another hour, but that's okay. Take what we've said today, and if you missed any of it, you can get this show tonight at 6 o'clock. We're going to play it again tonight at 6 o'clock. You can see it there. But I want to leave you as I do every single day, because this is how I feel from the inside. Never, ever, ever lose your focus. If you got God in your life, you got to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. Keep that to the first, foremost, top of mind, and I guarantee you're going to be a total success. So until tomorrow at 9 o'clock, know that I love you with a perfect kind of love. Keep shining while I'm gone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Sunshine's Corner, brought to you by Pensacola Parks and Recreation.